a referendum that's coming up here in Justice in April. Today, I would like to talk about the information that we are preparing and have prepared for our decision when it comes to working with and annexing into the Roberts Park Fire Protection District. So we are recording today from the beautiful Firehouse Number 1 on Roberts Road in Justice, Illinois. And by way of an introduction, I have with me in the room Melanie Cuban, who is one of our trustees, and she is the chairperson for our fire and police protection and public safety in the Village of Justice. Myself, I'm Sue Small, and I'm one of the trustees as well, and I'm the chairperson for admin, hence the reason we're preparing this tutorial. And the most important person in the room at this point that's you, Jeff Ketchum, who is the chief for the Roberts Park Fire Protection District. The agenda today, we're going to go through an overview of what a referendum is. We want to talk about what we want to achieve here. And then we want to go through what fire protection training is, what the referendum is all about, the benefits for voting yes, some of the objections, and some of the next steps. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie. Melanie's going to talk about some of the reasons we're here and all that kind of fun stuff. So Melanie?
Hello, this is Melanie Cuban, and we just need to go over a few things. A lot of you remember when Justice had its own fire department, which had to disband in 2005 because of the cost of over $1 million, and the village could not afford it. At that time, we formed our relationship with the Roberts Park Fire Protection District. Now, a small part of the village properties are covered through their current homeowners' taxes. The rest of it is paid for through the village on a contract basis of over $500,000 per year for fire protection. Our current contract ends in the spring of 2019, and the costs that are being calculated will make it completely unaffordable for the village at that point in time. The referendum we're talking about proposes that all property owners pay for fire protection by way of their property taxes. What we are hoping to accomplish with this is to inform our residents about the costs and the purposes of fire safety and the fire protection district. We hope that we can do this in an open and transparent way to talk about the budgetary components of fire safety and EMS. And if you don't understand what EMS is, those are the emergency medical calls. We would like to teach you and explain the purpose of this referendum and answer your questions regarding this important topic. And with that, I am now going to turn this over to Chief Ketchum, who's going to talk to you about fire protection.
I'm Chief Ketchum from the Roberts Park Fire Protection District, and I'm going to educate you a bit about how a fire protection district works and some of the costs associated with that. The Roberts Park Fire Protection District was established in 1946, and we provide coverage to the city of Hickory Hills and a portion of the Village of Justice. Since 2005, we've provided protection to the rest of the Village of Justice via a contractual agreement. As you can see, our responses have increased steadily over the last years, and today we provide service approximately 4,000 times a year. Roughly 50% of those calls are in the Village of Justice today. Our call volume has changed from fire and EMS to predominantly EMS, emergency medical services. Those are the calls for ambulances. Roberts Park currently staffs 2 firehouses, which are both located in the Village of Justice. We man ambulances at both facilities. We have a fire engine and a ladder truck that are ready to respond at any time. The department is also part of a wider network called MAVIS, which allows us to share staff and equipment with agencies that are located in close proximity to us. Today we staff each fire station with 4 men per day and a battalion chief to supervise the activities of both houses. Additionally, the Roberts Park Fire Protection District is active in many community partnership programs with extensive outreach to the schools, CPR classes, babysitting classes. We install car seats for those that need them, and we are currently installing and providing smoke detectors to those that need them. We have staff members that are fluent in many languages, and we are always ready to help.
So wow, Jeff, I bet you that costs a lot of money, huh?
It certainly does. As you can see by the information presented here, fire equipment is not cheap. Additionally, it doesn't last as long as you would hope that it does. Even with the utmost care, it takes a beating. And if you can get 15 years out of a ladder truck, you're doing good. The cost of workers' compensation insurance is also very expensive for our men and very critical.
So I kind of drew the short straw, and I got to the wonderful pleasure of trying to explain this map and what this means for us as it relates to justice. The areas in pink are within justice, and those are areas that are part of the village and have been part of the Roberts Park Fire Protection District since 1946. So those folks, our neighbors, are already paying for service on their property tax bills. What you see here in front of you are all the areas in yellow, which is going to affect the voters and everyone in this part of justice, and that you are the folks that will actually have the question on the ballot on April 4th that asks whether or not you're willing to participate in this fire protection district. Obviously, the blue up here represents the cemetery. There are parts of the cemetery, so it wasn't a typographical error that the whole place is not, highlighted in blue. There are properties and things along 79th Street, like the old golfing range and Daymar and things like that, where this assessment will also affect them. Okay, so what is this referendum? Well, the definition of referendum is a vote in which all the people in an area are asked to give their opinion. So what you're going to see on your ballot, and if you look on the right here, you'll see that, on April 4th, it's election day in many of the municipalities in Illinois, including our village. So in addition to voting for our next mayor, clerk, board of trustees, voters are also going to vote for leadership in other communities, but probably one of the more important votes that you're going to be asked to participate in this year is this referendum. So we're going to ask you to vote for participation in the Roberts Park Fire Protection District. And this referendum, you can see here at the left, we have a sample of what that looks like on your ballot. And your choice will be either to join the Roberts Park Fire Protection District and assuming a proportionate share of bonded indebtedness, if any, or your other choice will be against joining the Roberts Park Fire Protection District, assuming a proportionate share of bonded indebtedness. I want to take a second and explain what this bonded indebtedness means, and just assure everybody on this, listening to this and sitting in for some of our town hall meetings and things like that, that currently the Roberts Park Fire Protection District is not in debt. They are running at a balanced budget, which is also very, very good news to participate in this referendum. So I wanted to talk a minute about the benefits of voting yes. And so that you understand, we want to spread the share of the cost among all users and potential users for this service. As Melanie stated at the beginning of this presentation, currently the Village of Justice has paid for a fair percentage of all of our residents within the village. And quite frankly, it's going to be hard for us and probably near impossible for us to be able to continue to afford that. But the more important thing is that with passage of this and sharing the cost, it's going to enable the Roberts Park Fire Protection District to build a new facility for quicker response times on the north side of Justice. Their long-term goals is to add additional equipment for better coverage of EMS calls, so, in particular an ambulance and other things that the chief and his team have been working on looking at, replacing the old failing equipment as needed. And then, as important, we want to balance the scales between the areas of the village. We have plenty of folks, and if you remember back to the map, the people in the pink have been paying for this for many, many years, and so we need to kind of right the scales, if you will. So, a vote yes, obviously, and just, in a method of transparency here, yes, a vote for yes will cost each property owner more money on their real estate taxes. But remember, as we start to talk about the numbers, and Melanie's going to take us through the numbers on the next slide, typically the assessed valuation of your property is about a third to a half of the street value, and many property owners are already partially covered through their senior citizen freeze. So we're going to talk about that on the next slide, so hold your breath for a minute, we're getting there.
All right, so it comes down to numbers. And none of us like to pay more taxes, okay? Especially those who are on fixed incomes or have one income. But let's look at this. If you take an average home in the village, It has a market value of $175,000. But that's not the assessed valuation. What you have to do is do that calculation. And that works out to an assessed value of about $46,550. Currently, the cost for protection is at 1.09%. So the average additional cost would be about $507.39 per year, which breaks down to $253.69, which again breaks down to an average daily cost of $1.39. But let's look at something else. Everyone gets a homestead exemption. Well, you start applying the homestead exemption, and then your estimated assessed value comes down, and now your estimated assessed value has gone down a couple thousand, so our average daily cost is about $1.20. And don't forget those who have the senior exemption, so that brings the EAV down again. And then those with the senior freeze, well, it's not even based on the assessed value now, it's based on the assessed value of when you started your freeze. So maybe $1 a day? Come on, we can afford this. Reason I say we can afford this is we have to look at some other issues here. You got to look at the cost of your homeowner's insurance with and without fire protection. I did my footwork. I talked to State Farm and I talked to my insurance company, which is Hartford. Neither one of them will cover my home for insurance if there's no fire protection. So now what do you do? Okay? And go ahead, call your insurance company and ask them. You need to be informed.
Wait, can I ask a question, Mel?
Sure.
Are you telling me that if we don't vote yes on this, the village isn't going to buy our fire protection?
Unfortunately, the village is not going to be able to afford the fire protection. What essentially would happen is you're going to need so much money that the village is eventually going to go belly up. We just can no longer afford this.
Well, what about the other villages around us? Do they pay for it?
Most of your villages around us, okay, are covered by fire protection districts. Oh, sure, there are some that have their own fire departments, Bridgeview and this, but look at Hickory Hills. They're covered by 2 separate fire protection districts.
So who pays for that?
The residents, through their homeowners' taxes, and they have done this all the time. The best way I can tell you to learn about these programs, though, too, is also to go to the Roberts Park Fire Protection website and go to the village website to see this training again and again. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Now, we're going to try to give you a little bit more information. Please mark your calendars. On Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m., and again on Tuesday, March 28th at 7 p.m., we will be holding some informational sessions at the Village Hall. Please show up for those. And for you seniors, we're going to visit your senior meeting, okay, on the 28th, and come and answer any questions we can for you. We hope that you have some insight and know that this is for the betterment of this village. And as always, we're moving forward. Thank you.